So I thought I'd make a video before I go to bed. But I wanted to come on here and basically just tell y'all a little bit about what I've been going through. So this school year, um, I put my son in a different school. And the reason being is because my work schedule, the distance, it was just too much. And even though, yes, at one point it benefited me, um, financially mostly to have him go to school in that location, due to the fact that my mom worked at the school that he went to school. The distance just didn't work, and it just took too much out of me. We had to be up way earlier, and the drive is in traffic, it's like 45 minutes or more. And I just decided this year, I was like, I'm pulling the plug. I can't do this. Like, we have to figure something else out. So this year, we moved and he went to a new school. He was at that school for 2 years. So he, was accustomed to who he was around on a daily basis, the teachers, the faculty, staff. Yeah. So this year when we started, I told him he was going to a new school. And we've been back and forth about it. Like I've been talking to him about it, right, since the last school year. Because I kind of just wanted to prepare him, like just to let him know, like, hey, you know, next school year, this coming school year, you're going to another school, so you're not gonna see the same people anymore, and we're gonna make new friends. And at first, he seemed like, okay, mom, whatever, while we were just talking about it. But as the time grew closer to start the new school year, I started to see like he was very apprehensive about it. So you can see like he's nervous and he's like, I still want to keep my old friends and I still want to stay in contact. And I was like, that's not a problem. We'll try to stay in contact with your old friends, but you're gonna make new friends and there's no issue with doing that. And I can see like the anxiety starting to, make itself present with him because he's going into a new school, new teachers. He doesn't know anybody. He has to make new friends and he's not accustomed to it. And I have just been praying that, you know, he would, go in there with a open mindset, even though he's only like, well, he's just turned 7. And I'm just praying. I'm like, God, please let him adjust. Let him not have any difficulty making new friends, or which I didn't think he would. Knowing his personality, I don't ever think he's gonna be one of those kids that has a hard time making friends. But I was just so worried, and I was like, God, please help my baby to adjust. Help us to adjust to all the changes that we're both experiencing. But more so him, help him to get through this change of switching new schools. I'm praying he likes his teacher. His teacher is nice and that he adjusts fine and he makes new friends and he'll feel comfortable. So this week is the second week of school. And over the last 2 weeks, the first week it seemed like everything went fine, everything was okay. So this week I'm like, okay. At first it was a constant, hey, mom, I want to see my old friends at my old school. I want to go back to my old school, whatever. And I was like, okay, we're gonna try it out. We're not gonna, just say we're gonna put you back in your old school. We're gonna try it out. Like you're gonna be fine, you're gonna adjust. And then, like, without really paying attention, like, we just been doing the routine of getting up, going to school, our morning routine. And then something like clicked the other morning as I was driving him to school. I was like, over this past, like, maybe towards the end of last week, this week, he hasn't been, you know, adamant about, going back to the other school or seeing his old friends. When he comes home, he tells me like how his day was, about his new friends, what they did in school. And I'm just thinking how probably less than 2 weeks ago, I was so scared and I was so worried about how he was going to adjust. And I was praying so hard that he would be okay and he would adjust just fine. Even though I knew he would, as a parent, you're always going to worry and you're always going to be like, oh my gosh, I hope that everything works out. And everything worked out so well that now it's like he talks about his new friends. He's enjoying his time at school. The commute is literally 5 minutes away from the house, so it's not a long commute anymore. He gets to sleep in a little later. Mm. He's enjoying going and experiencing like doing activities like at after school care. And I'm just like in my head, all I could do was like, thank you, God. Because it's just be the small things that you gotta be grateful for. Like even when you don't really it's the things that you don't notice that at one point you were praying for, and then when it starts to happen you don't realize like what you prayed for has actually come to pass. And I was so worried and I was so nervous about withdrawing him from the school and doing this new routine with him and figuring out my schedule and his schedule and who was going to do pick him up from school and do all these things. And I continue to pray about it, and now it seems as like we're in the second week of the new school year, and everything is working itself out. And I just have to thank God because God has been so good to me. I can't even tell y'all. Nothing is perfect. It's not all solved, not everything. Nothing is ever probably going to be perfect. But I just wanted to get on here and say, like, be mindful of when you start to complain or you start to get angry or frustrated. Because even though things are frustrating and things don't always go the way we planned, or there's just road, they're just bumps in the road, remember that somewhere, somehow, where you are now in this life is something that you once prayed for. Like, don't forget that. And I'm just thinking how, yeah, he's my kid, and I know he was going to be fine, and we just all take time to adjust. But I actually prayed and I prayed about it, and hopefully that he would transition, he would be fine, and he wouldn't have a hard time adjusting. And he's doing so well. And it's just like, I have to thank God because I was worried a few weeks ago, and now I'm at peace, and he's happy, he's adjusting. I am just so grateful for all the little things because I didn't know how things were going to work out. I was nervous about this change, this major change we were doing, and to see it just the second week of school, it's all coming together and we're doing fine. And to think I was just so worried that when we worry, God is already working it out. So even though life may throw its curveballs and you're going through a change or you're not, or you have to adjust to something new. In the midst of whatever is going on, remember that you are in a season where things might be changing. Things don't seem familiar, but this is something that you once prayed for. You're living a something that you once prayed for in that moment. Not everything is going to be perfect. It's not always going to go the way you want to. Yes, God may answer one prayer and then you got to work out the rest. But just remember, yes, I'm going through it. Yes, I'm adjusting. Yes, this is new to me. I'm in unfamiliar territory. Everything is just seems like it is all coming at one time. But in the midst of it all, remember, This is something that I prayed for. This is something I once wanted. This is something I probably cried about. This is something that I was begging God to do in my life. So don't always look at the negative, look at the positive. And just like how he brought one dream or one prayer to you, he will figure out the details. God is always in the details. He's in between the seconds and the minutes. He doesn't work on the same time that we work on. So be patient and just trust the process. But that's what I wanted to get on here and say before I go to bed because I just felt like I need to get off my chest. But I'll see y'all next time. Bye.